My family swiped my $7,500 surgery fund, blew it on a fancy cruise, and left Grandma all by herself on Christmas. I gave them 2 days to give the money back. I came home for the holiday. The house was deserted except for Grandma, who was eating leftovers. The note went on. Used your $7,500 loan for a family cruise. Take care of her, Grandma said. We'll make it right. I just sort of mumbled in agreement. 4 days later, they were begging me to talk to them. I didn't even bother knocking. It was my parents' house, the one I'd practically paid for, and I was supposed to be there for Christmas, just like I'd always said I would be. But when I opened the front door, that cozy feeling I'd pictured wasn't there at all. Yeah, the Christmas tree was lit. The crummy plastic star was blinking like it was sorry or something. But the house was dead silent. No people, no torn wrapping paper, no smell of cinnamon or burnt cookies either, just the soft sound of a fork hitting a plate. "Hello," I called out carefully, stepping inside. "In here, sweetheart," a tired, quiet voice said from the kitchen. I turned the corner, and there she was, Grandma, sitting alone at the table in her purple sweater. A plate of cold stuffing and half-eaten ham was in front of her. I blinked, completely shocked. "Where is everyone?" She didn't say anything right away. She just gave me a sad smile, the kind where you can see she's missing a few teeth, and pushed a folded piece of paper across the table. Her hands were shaking. I picked it up. It wasn't even an envelope, just a torn-off piece of notebook paper with my name scribbled on it in black pen. Use your $7,500 loan for a family cruise. Sorry. Take care of Grandma while we're gone. Love you, Mom. I just stared, speechless. My mind completely froze. Loan, cruise, forget it. That money was for my teeth. I'd been saving for over a year for that surgery. Grandma just watched me, super quiet and careful, like she was walking across a minefield. Or maybe that's just how I felt. I guess they didn't think you'd mind," she said quietly, folding her napkin. "They took off yesterday. I practically collapsed into a chair. It was freezing, way colder than the room. No warning, nothing, no phone call. Did they just grab the money and leave you here?" I barely whispered. She chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "Oh, honey, you know they only call when they need something." I nodded slowly, my fists clenched under the table. This wasn't new, not really. It was just louder this time. Grandma sipped her orange juice, looked me right in the eye, and said, "We'll fix this." I didn't say anything, but inside, something cracked and something else, something icy, started to grow. Grandma went to bed early that night. Said she was wiped out. Said her hips couldn't handle any more waiting around. She kissed my cheek, touched my arm, and whispered, "You were always the only one who stayed kind." Then she hobbled off, that limp she got after falling down the stairs 2 winters back, the fall nobody ever bothered to get her rehab for. I sat there alone for hours. No TV, no lights. Just that note, that stupid note. The loan, my money. The cash I scraped together, working nights, weekends, holidays, driving for Uber, and skimping on food and sleep, came to under $7,500. It vanished on a cruise. I pinged the family group chat. Crickets, not even a happy holidays. I scrolled up. Mom's last message was from November. "Remember to move the loan money to Dad's account. We should book before the prices go up." Loan, they never pretended it was a gift because they knew better. I recalled my mom suggesting the idea. "It's just a quick loan," she'd said. "We'll pay you back by February at the latest. You can always put off that dentist appointment." I'd nodded because that's what I always did. When they needed money for Eric's school, I agreed. When they needed help with Dad's gambling debts, I said okay. Ruby needed rent after she quit her job, which was really because her boss was a jerk. Again, I agreed. I always nodded because if I didn't, I was selfish, unsupportive, ungrateful. Family comes first. After all we've done for you, done for me. They tossed me out when I was 17 because I wouldn't lie for Eric after he stole Grandma's meds. They missed my college graduation because they were too busy helping Emily move in with her boyfriend. They forgot my birthday for 3 years running. But that money? Oh, suddenly I was back in the family picture. The next morning I had the details. It wasn't just a cruise they were taking. We were looking at the Caribbean cruise, a fancy ship called the Majestic Aurora, for 10 days. It was all about suites, personal butlers, a pool that went on forever, fancy food, and it cost $3,000 per person. There were 4 of them. Emily, and I guess she forgot to block me on Instagram, posted a photo. They were all wearing bathrobes, toasting with champagne. The caption said something about finally getting some peace, away from all the leeches and the bad vibes. Leeches? I actually laughed out loud. They took my money, left Grandma with the scraps, and called me a leech. That's when something inside me just broke. I wasn't even upset anymore, not even mad. I was just focused. That night, Grandma found me in the garage. I was hunched over Dad's old filing cabinet, surrounded by piles of papers, bills, and old stuff. She didn't say a word. I watched myself sift through years of lies. I need to know everything, I told her. Where did the money go? What did they do? Who's involved? She sat down beside me, pulled out a notepad, and started turning the pages. Let's start with 2016, she said. That's when your mother took my pension login. We had the numbers by midnight. By the next day, we had a plan. They pulled up in the driveway like they owned the place. These were the same people who ditched me and Grandma with a note and a fridge full of that awful KL law. They were back, acting like they'd just won the war. Their laughter echoed through the house before they even opened the door. Emily showed up first, all fancy with her fancy purse, ribbons in her hair, and perfectly painted nails. So glad to be off that boat, she said. That last meal practically gave me a rash. Then Mom waltzed in behind her like some drama queen straight out of a soap opera, still wearing her sunglasses indoors. Did you even bother to tidy up? She asked, stepping right over Grandma's shawl like it was nothing. Dad came in next, looking all red and puffy from the boat food. He grumbled when he saw me. Oh, you're still here? He muttered. Eric was last. He didn't even know Grandma was there. He just tossed his stuff down and plopped onto the couch. I didn't say anything. I just sat at the table, hands folded, keeping it cool and collected. Where's the food? Mom demanded, checking out the kitchen like she owned the place. In the fridge, I told her. There's still tons of that ham you left. Eric laughed. You're still on that? He said. Seriously, just order pizza. It's not like you're starving. I stood up nice and slow. Glad you're all here, I said. Have a seat. I've got something to show you. Eric rolled his eyes and slumped into a chair. Dad cracked his knuckles. Emily was busy hunting for a plug for her phone. I turned the laptop towards them and hit play. The first thing they saw was a spreadsheet. But not just any spreadsheet. It was a complete financial audit I'd spent 4 days putting together with Grandma, showing every single penny taken from her pension. Dad had been using her card to get cash from gas stations all along. So Mom found out about the Zelle stuff. Turns out, those emergencies were really just Sephora and Apple, my bad. Where did you get this? She yelled, all tight-lipped and furious. I told her, from the bank, Mom. She just sighed, saying I should be more careful using her passwords. The next video, proof. Venmo transactions, her logins from her own phone, even pension stuff that lined up exactly with Dad's betting, the whole 9 yards. And then the emails Mom writing to me saying, he won't even notice the crew's money's gone. He's too trusting. She even added, he's such a softie, and who leaves Grandma alone on Christmas anyway. My throat tightened, but I kept going. I could have stopped right there, but I didn't. Then I played a recording. Ruby, Eric's wife, crying on our porch 2 nights before. I didn't want to be there. I begged him not to make me. But Eric said, if you don't give them the money, they'll just ditch her and deal with it later. I stayed quiet because he promised it would all blow over. I was so sorry, I just couldn't keep it in anymore. Eric exploded. You recorded my wife? That's illegal. No, I said. She asked me to. She said she was sick of covering for you, sick of watching you rip people off. Dad's face was red as a beet. You little snake, he sputtered. You've been digging around in our accounts. Yeah, I snapped back, because I'm tired of being robbed blind. I opened one last thing, a formal email all ready to go. A report on elder financial abuse with all the evidence attached, sent to Social Security fraud, Grandma's lawyer, the county ombudsman, and a couple local news places. You got 48 hours, I told them. I'd give it all back or I'd send it. Every last bit. Emily's hands were shaking. You're just trying to scare us, she said. You'd mess up your own family. Nah, I said back. You guys already did that. I'm just here to send the invoice. Grandma slowly got up. She hadn't said a word the whole time, but now she came up to the head of the table, put her hand on the back of a chair, and said, I raised 3 of you, I fed you, took care of you. And when I couldn't even walk, you left me with frozen beans and a moldy pie while you were drinking champagne with stolen money. You should be glad he's the one coming after you. If it were just me. She trailed off, but the room went quiet. The message was crystal clear. Dad muttered something under his breath and bolted out. Emily started sobbing and went to hug Grandma, but she wouldn't let her. Eric just glared at me. You're not family anymore. I smiled. Sweet, I'm finally free. They really didn't think I'd go through with it. They thought I was putting on an act. Even after I sent the email right in front of them, even after Grandma gave them that withering look of silent fury, they still thought they could beat me, manipulate me, wear me down. But what about that quiet version of myself? The one who always just agreed, paid up, and said thanks for the scraps. He died after they blew $7,500 of my money on piña coladas and a cruise. The first day was silent. Not a word, no apologies. It was just me and Grandma rattling around in that silent, empty house, eating our microwaved oatmeal and taking turns checking our bank accounts. Still nothing. On day 2, I fired off an email. Every single document, every single screenshot. Every little recording was labeled, dated, and sent to the state authorities, plus CC'd to every news station within 100 miles. At 6:13 p.m., I got a reply, "Thank you for your submission. A case has been opened." Then, on day 3, it all blew up. Eric was the first to lose it. I woke up to a dozen missed calls and a flood of texts, everything from "we didn't mean it that way" to "are you really gonna screw over your family for some money?" Then came my mom's usual line, "You're being emotional, take the post down, we'll talk." But I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded everything to my lawyer, Natalie. She went through it all with a fine-tooth comb. Natalie had been working with Grandma's legal guy since I recorded Ruby's confession. By noon, Natalie sent out legal letters threatening to sue my parents, Eric and Emily. And she meant business. The charges included elder financial exploitation, unauthorized access to retirement accounts, and theft of family loans. The total amount owed, with interest and damages, was $14,322.85. The next night, Mom showed up at the door. She looked like hell, no makeup, hair pulled back in a messy bun. "Can we talk?" she begged, her voice trembling. I just crossed my arms. "Only if you brought a checkbook." I pulled out a big envelope from my bag. Inside was a cashier's check for $7,500. It was for the loan. "No interest?" I asked. "Consider yourself fortunate to even get this," she snapped. "You're wrecking us with this whole situation you caused." She then yelled, "You're just going to turn your back on your own mother." "No," I replied, and I walked outside, closing the door behind me. "I'm finally turning my back on a thief." Later that week, Emily called me on her work phone. She was bawling and said the piece was out there, going viral. The title was something like, "Family Steals Disabled Grandmother's Pension, Abandons Her at Christmas, Grandson Fights Back." It had gotten 42,000 shares overnight. Emily's employer, a small marketing firm, wasn't thrilled about all the attention. Her name was plastered on every screenshot. That whole thing she said about leeches and negativity became a meme. "I'm getting fired," she wailed. "Do you even understand what you've done?" "Return the favor," I said. "Now pay your share." And she did, over 4 separate payments. I made sure she sent me proof each time, no messing around. Eric was the last one to crack. Initially, he acted like he was untouchable. "My boss doesn't care," he bragged on social media. "It's all just fake news anyway." But then Ruby left him. She filed for divorce, saying she wouldn't let her kids grow up in a house filled with lies and stealing. That same day, she called me. "I'm sorry it took me so long," she said, her voice soft. "But I've seen who he really is now." I asked if she needed any help finding somewhere to go. She paused before saying, "Only if it's totally clean." I grinned, "Absolutely, because you did the right thing." 2 days later, Eric showed up at my place looking like hell, unshaved, beat, and furious. "You idiot," he spat. "You screwed everything up." "No," I said, handing him the legal papers. "You did." Natalie had just filed to take a chunk out of his paycheck. He tried to rip the papers in half and throw them back at me. I didn't budge. "Pay every cent," I told him, "or we freeze your accounts. I'm not messing around." Ask him. By week 2, it was all back. $7,500 from Mom and Dad. Emily kicked in $3,100 plus interest, and Eric managed $2,700 thanks to a loan from his own boss. Humiliating. $14,300 plus some extra change. I used $3,000 to finally get my teeth fixed, and another $2,000 to get Grandma a good lift chair and a home nurse. I put the rest into a closed account, earning interest in Grandma's name that only she and I could touch. She started crying when I showed her the documents. "They took everything from me," she whispered. "But they didn't take you." That's when I realized I hadn't just won the money or the legal fight. I'd actually won something bigger. The weight I'd been carrying for ages, guilt, duty, and the quiet shame of not being as loved, just lifted off me like a dirty coat. I stood taller than I had in years. They stopped calling. And you know what? It finally felt like quiet had a heartbeat. It wasn't the frozen silence of shame, more like a clean, clinical quiet, like after you've finally gotten rid of something nasty. The money was back. The house was finally quiet. Grandma was actually sleeping, not waking up every hour terrified someone was gonna break in and steal what was left of her pride. And me? I was starting to become someone they couldn't deal with. After everything blew up, I didn't just get the money back. I got my life back. I quit that awful job that was sucking the life out of me. I found a remote gig that paid way better and gave me my time back. I took Grandma to that crummy old cafe she loved, the one with the checkered floors and the worst coffee you've ever tasted. She laughed more in that hour than I'd seen her laugh in like 5 years. "I miss this," she said, dunking her fries in her milkshake. "You mean your arteries miss this?" I teased. She just shrugged. "I'd rather die laughing with you than choking on those fancy shrimp with those vipers." Okay, fair enough. But even in the calm, the whispers didn't stop. Oh, they talked. Emily posted on Facebook about how some people don't get forgiveness, and she put a picture of herself lighting a candle at church. Mom told all the relatives how I'd taken advantage of Grandma in her old age. She left out the part about using Grandma's retirement money to pay for her plastic surgery. And Eric completely lost it. He made a video about those awful sibling things, using music from that show Succession, pretending he was some king whose family had totally screwed him over. The caption said something like, "Some people'd rather see you fail than succeed." I literally laughed for 10 minutes. Rise with me? Seriously. Those people tried to torch me and then do a happy dance on the ashes. They wanted to rewrite history, but I had the proof, and I wasn't going to let them bury me again. Then 3 weeks later, boom, everything changed. I was at the grocery store with Grandma, pushing her cart full of soup and ginger ale, when this woman comes up to us. Older, really put together, and I knew I'd seen her somewhere before. "I'm so sorry," she said, looking right at me. "Are you the one from the article?" My stomach tightened up. She smiled. "The one who saved his grandmother?" I just stared. Yeah, I guess," I mumbled. She looked at Grandma, then back at me. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said, "for speaking up, for not keeping quiet. My mother, they did the same thing to her and nobody ever fought back. I wish someone had." She touched my arm gently before walking away. I looked at Grandma. She was totally stunned, her hands gripping the soup cans, tears welling up. "I didn't think anyone saw what happened," she whispered. "They do now," I told her, and that's when it hit me. It wasn't about the money or getting revenge or proving I wasn't a total failure. It was about finally telling my truth out loud. The best part, I was done explaining myself. I didn't have to shout anymore. The whole mess was already out there, their names dragged through the mud like somebody dumped a garbage can on the street. Every single time they tried to post something online, people called them out. Every time they tried to spin a lie, someone in the comments would remind everyone exactly who they were. Mom tried to fix her reputation, you know. She started a cooking show online with Carla, called it Cozy Kitchen. But right there in the first episode, someone asked if she bought the oven with the money she stole from people's retirements. She shut the whole thing down in like 2 days. Eric tried to get a new job, but surprise, he couldn't pass a background check. Seems like those wage garnishments really freaked out the company. Figures. Emily vanished for a while, then popped back up with a brand new Instagram, all life reset this and that, posting yoga pics and inspirational quotes talking about cutting out toxic people, which honestly was a joke. I didn't just cut her off, I kicked her to the curb. Months went by. I got my own place, a quiet little apartment, all neat and clean. Furnished it myself, too, with second-hand stuff. Nothing of theirs, not a single thing they touched. Grandma came with me. We each got our own bedroom. Hers is covered in old photos and this blanket she knitted back in '93. She calls it the fort. One night she came to my door, sat carefully on my bed, and asked, real hesitant, "When you found that note, the one they left, why didn't you just go? Why did you stay?" I thought about it for a second, then I told her, because I remembered who I was before they made me forget. She gave me this long, hard look and then nodded. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart." That just about broke me. Those words hit harder than anything they'd ever said to hurt me, because she really meant it and nobody else in my family ever did. A few weeks later, I ran into Ruby outside a coffee shop. She looked better. Healthier, lighter, happier. She told me she was going to night school, working toward a certificate and trying to build something for herself. "I didn't know I could live like this," she said, not scared of what he'd do next. "You gave me that." I didn't know what to say. She stepped closer. "You change more than just your own life, you know?" I just nodded. Maybe for the first time I actually believed it, so here's how it all shakes out. Want to know what happened to my family? They trashed their own reputation trying to hide mine. And me? Well, I stopped waiting for them to call me family and started building one with people who never made me beg for love. And now I can sleep soundly with all the lights off because I'm not terrified of what they'll do. They already took everything, but I took it back.